I'm Danny and we're back with Physics of Flight. This week we're covering weight shift. We're going to talk about balance, keeping a vertical spine, and what to do with any extra momentum after the throw. I've even got Seth Munsey from Disc Golf Strong here to drop some knowledge on how to avoid injuries. Let's get started. Good weight shift starts with good footwork. I covered that in last week's video, and it's a good idea to start there to build a base for a solid weight shift. The main takeaway is keeping the feet oriented correctly and turning the hips at the right time. The hips should stay aligned with the target until the reach back when they turn backwards and then rotate forwards with the upper body. Notice they're never turned all the way away from the target, and the stance at the end is closed. That ensures that they have range of motion and can turn with the rotation in the shot rather than slowing it down. A huge player in consistency for backhand is balance. Staying balanced provides control and confidence, meaning more power and accuracy. During the X step, the weight should be over the toes in an athletic position, and the weight shouldn't shift into the heel until the brace. It's also important to keep the spine vertical during the reach back. It's common to overextend in the reach back and lean backwards over the back foot. That puts a bulk of the weight off center and slows down rotation. Just like a figure skater spins faster with their weight closer to their center of mass, keeping the weight centered will help with the rotation and consistency. The weight shift actually happens with very little lateral motion in the hips. Notice here the weight's over the back foot, and here it's over the front foot. It's crucial to get all of the weight off the back foot and onto the front foot. That's why it's important to have range of motion in the hips. If there's no range of motion, the momentum will go down into the leg and into the ground rather than driving the hips and powering the shot. So keeping the head down is conventional wisdom in golf and baseball and tennis, where you want to keep your eye on the target until contact is made. And the same applies to disc golf, but it's not as intuitive. So in disc golf, the tendency is to watch the disc come out of your hand, but that creates rounding because the shoulders will follow the head. So if I reach back, I want to make sure that I'm not trying to look forward at my target, because then my shoulders aren't going to turn all the way back. So I need to take my eyes off the target as I reach back. Then as I pull the disc in, I don't want to turn and look at the target because that's going to draw the disc to the right. Here, if I demonstrate it this way, I can reach back, pull it in, but if I look forward, my release point's going to be over here. If I keep my head down, my release point's right there. So what's the head supposed to do? The head's supposed to turn as you reach back, and the only time you're supposed to really look at the disc is when it's in front of your chest. Keeping your head down and on the disc at this point is going to mean your shoulders are rotating with the shot. From here, you don't want to look at the disc out of your hand like I demonstrated before. You want to trust the release point to keep going straight forward. So the aiming isn't actually done by timing the release. Lots of people will throw with rounding, where they curve the disc around and they'll have to time their release point. And that's really inaccurate and it's not very powerful. So the solution to that is to reach back straight and pull the disc in front. My aiming isn't done by watching the disc out of my hand or timing my release or anything. My aiming is done with the reach back. If I reach back straight and I watch the disc come in front of my chest, this motion is straight. And from here, the disc is going to go straight forward, provided I don't turn my head. So if I need to hit a gap, I'll reach back exactly opposite that gap, pull the disc in, and trust that that straightforward pull is going to hit the gap and get me down the field. Out here with Robert McCall demonstrating a proper reach back, a balanced reach back. I see a lot of people when they reach back, they lean over their back foot because they're trying to reach too far. So you're reaching way over there, he's off balance, right? His foot's over here and his spine is leaning. That's the thing to look for, is a leaning in the spine. If you stand with your spine straight and rotate your shoulders back, it's going to be a lot more powerful. A way to test this is to reach back and grab something and try to pull it forward. So here, reach back, all bent over. If I grab this disc, you try and pull it out of my hand, you're not powerful, you're not balanced. Oh, that's pretty powerful. Okay, now you stay balanced and then you turn and reach back. Now you can pull it a lot harder because he's got his whole core engaged in the throw. All right, so clearing up some misconceptions about brace. Brace is a word that I like to use, but I've started to transfer into plant because that's a little bit more descriptive. A brace implies that I'm just stopping my forward motion. All of the momentum that I had is just stopped. And then I send the disc flying and I throw it, and that works somehow. What a brace is it's actually transferring the motion. So a lot of people, I'm gonna do with what I see that's wrong first. A lot of people will throw with their left foot backwards and then their front foot, they come down in an open stance here, and they're standing behind their shot after they're done. So they're throwing and they go like that and they think, wow, I put all of my energy into that shot. But that's not how it works. If you're landing with this open stance, your lower body isn't moving at all after you've hit your plant foot. So what I like to say instead of brace is plant. That implies something a little bit more careful, a little bit different than brace. So the trick on the brace is to, number one, keep the X step sideways. I've talked a lot about that. But on the plant foot, you want to close your stance here, and this is when you turn your hips back. Your hips have to stay sideways in the X step, but they turn back for this plant foot. And what that does is it gives the energy somewhere to go. If my hips are turned like this, as my weight moves forward, they're gonna be driven sideways. They're gonna be rotating, and that's gonna travel up my body into my throw rather than down my body into the ground. In the past, I've said you wanna end up balanced on your front foot for like an 80% throw. And while that's accurate, I don't think it's necessarily a good thing to teach, because that's gonna get a lot of people throwing and just stopping and then ending up on this front foot, and they think they're doing it correctly. The idea is to transfer the motion. So it's a good idea to make sure you're clearing your front foot. That means at the end of the shot, your weight has transferred into the shot and you can just naturally take a step forward. That means that the motion isn't just driving down into your joints and into the ground, it's coming through the shot. If your shot's the type of throw where you plant your front foot and take 3 or 4 extra steps, that's probably not correct. You want to make sure you don't have any extra momentum, but the momentum from throwing should carry you at least up and onto your front foot and maybe take 1 extra step past. This is Seth Munsey from Disc Golf Strong. He's a personal trainer with experience in professional sports. I've asked him to come and demonstrate a little bit how to weight shift without damaging any joints. Let's take a look.
So when we're thinking about the knees, when it comes to our plant foot, we want to make sure that the pressure is not just on the ball of our foot, so we're not keeping it into the toe right there, because that can put a lot of stress on our knees, on our ACL and everything. We want to actually just think of that as the transition phase. So I'm just touching, okay? That's cushioning everything, that's absorbing those forces, and then I immediately go out to put in the pressure on the outside foot and the heel, okay? So I'm coming through, I just touch, and then immediately go out to that outside foot and heel, because that is where it locks our ankle joint, and it's going to provide a lot more stability, and it's going to make sure that the stress is not on the knee, that it's going through the whole leg and through the hips, okay? So give that a try.
Good stuff from Seth there. I've linked his website and some videos that he's done in the description, but that's it for this week on Physics of Flight. Check out last week's if you haven't, and make sure you're subscribed, because next week's episode is gonna be awesome.